So good morning. In yesterday's class, in last class, we discussed the statistical modeling. In statistical modeling, we saw about uh, population samples, big data, how big data fit in uh, analytics, and how big is big data. So in today's class, we shall discuss the modeling aspects in data science. So building models from the data we collect. So that is the simple definition of modeling. So the term data model is very vague because each individual pursues modeling as different. So from person to person, the modeling will be different. For a database manager, modeling means it is about how data is stored. So from a statistician point of view, a modeling is different. So the word model, it is completely different for different persons or perspective. So when we talk about statistical models or mathematical models, so it is what the data scientists refer to. So there will be massive amount of data in the modeling. So one has to adopt a suitable modeling mechanism or a model to select that captures the entire data. So there are again two terms, statistical modeling. The mathematical modeling is also, it is same. So what is the difference between a statistical model or a machine learning model? So is there any difference? So there will be, when we have massive amount of data, does modeling require? So for example, in Google, they have almost all the data. So no models are necessary when we have such huge data. Only a correlation between the data is sufficient. So in the context where we have a humongous amount of data, a correlation, just like in Google. So it is sufficient, and that correlation will settle all the models. So what do we mean when we say models, or how data scientists so use them? So model is nothing but a representing of data. So humans will always understand the world around them by representing it in some or the other way. For example, for an architect, modeling means capturing the attributes of a building through the blueprints or in a 3D view. For a biologist, modeling means capturing the protein structure in a 3D visualization with the connections with the proteins and amino acids. But for a statistician and a data scientist, we capture the data that has a lot of uncertainty and randomness. That uncertainty and randomness is part of the data generating process itself. And that data generation process, uh, along with the mathematical functions we use to express the structure of the data itself. So that is what model is for a statistician. So for a statistician, model is nothing but a mathematical function that express the shape or structure of the data. So a model is an attempt to understand and represent the nature of reality, how we perceive it. Be it architectural, biological, or statistical. So it is an attempt to represent the data. So a model is an artificial construction where all extra details will be removed. So the attention always lies on the one that we have to analyze. So in case of statistical modeling, so we mistakenly exclude the key variables and include the irrelevant ones. So that has to be removed. So what is statistical modeling? So we saw what is modeling. Whereas the statistical modeling, before starting with data and coding, so it is always useful to have a picture of what how underlying process might work in the model. So what is the first thing that we want to know? What is that it is going to influence, what causes it, and what are the tests on the data. So the mathematical expressions will be generally enough, because mathematical expressions include the parameters. So mathematical expressions will have parameters, but the parameter values are not known to us. So the values will be known only when we try to fit the model. So by conventions, we can use the Greek letters for parameters and Latin letters for the data. So that is how in statistics it is done. For example, a linear relationship in the data can be expressed as y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x. So where x and y may be a data column, and beta naught and beta 1 are the actual numbers that are not known to us, and they are the parameters. So x and y are the data columns, whereas beta and beta 1 will be the parameters. So, and this expression is a linear relationship. So this is one of the mathematical model where we can represent the data. So some statisticians or some data scientists prefer mathematical models, whereas the other set of people may also prefer the data flow as a diagram. So possibly with arrows, they show what process will happen and next what happens. So that is an abstract picture of relationship before choosing the equations. So how to build a model? So before building a model, we must have the knowledge of what functional form a data should take. So whether it is an art or it is a science, so it is partly an art and partly a science. So the modeling process, where we have to make a lot of assumptions. So that assumptions will be about the structure of the reality or the standards that we have to choose. So in order to before building a model, so one has to start the exploratory data analysis. So we'll learn what is exploratory data analysis later. So making a plot or building an intuition for a particular data set. So exploratory data analysis, so it will provide a trial and error mechanism or iterations before beginning the modeling. So this EDA is a preliminary stage where, as an analyst, one should convince ourselves or to have a deeper understanding of the data that we are dealing with. So that analysis is EDA. So for an example, in order to have an EDA, so we can plot the histograms, scatter plots. So why histogram or scattering is required? So when we plot the graph of a histogram, so that is when the analyst will have a feel of the data. By looking at that, some assumptions can be made about the data or some model can be written. So even if it is wrong, so it is good to have a first intuition about the data using these kind of mechanisms. So based on this, what one can do is using this particular histogram or scattered plot. So one can express them in a word and then try to convert that expression into a mathematical code. So it is always good to start with a simple sentence or a simple equation, but there is always a trade-off between being simple and accurate. So for example, so simple model may be easier to interpret and understand. A simple model we can build within a very few hours with 90% of accuracy. And similarly, we can have a more complex model. We can take months together to build a model, and yet it still can give 92% of accuracy. So there is always a trade-off, whether we want higher accuracy or whether we want a very simple one. So that is where we will have a potential models, right? So we are not calling it as a model, but a potential model. So the potential model is built on the probability distribution. So probability distributions are the foundations of statistical models. So statistical models are based on probability distributions. So in olden days, so what happened before computers? So the scientists observed the real world phenomena. They took the measurements, each and every event they noted down. And then they noticed that certain mathematical shapes kept reappearing, which means certain shapes are repeated again and again in various application domains. So that is when they thought that certain things are there in the nature or in the real world that are repeating itself. And those set of mathematical shapes they called as a distributions. So the classical height example. So height of a human being follows some bell-shaped curve. So called as normal distribution, or it is also called as a Gaussian distribution. So other set of distribution include Poisson distribution, Weibull distribution, gamma distribution, so exponential distribution. So a natural process tend to generate a measurement whose shape could be approximated by a mathematical function with only very few parameters. So that is the characteristics of a natural process, so that it can be mathematically functioned with a very few parameters, and that can be estimated from a data itself. So not all process generate the data that can be named distribution. So named distribution is nothing but a standard set of distribution. So this standard set of distributions, they include, here is a huge list of distributions. So there are a bunch of continuous density function. So probability distributions are also called as density functions. So we have normal distribution, uniform distribution, Cauchy distribution, then T distribution, F distribution, chi-square distribution, exponential, Weibull, log normal, gamma, double exponential, so beta, extreme value distribution, power normal. So plenty of their distributions are there. They're already standardized, because they kept appearing and reappearing in many natural processes. So we shall see what is a normal distribution. So before that, we'll represent a random variable using the small letter x or y. So you can have an assumption to have a corresponding probability distribution. So a probability distribution will represent it as P of x, where x maps to a positive real number. Okay. So in order to be a probability density function, we are restricted to a set of functions. So when do we call a probability distribution as a probability density function is when we integrate P of x, which means when we plot a graph, the area that comes under the graph, so that is called as area under the curve. So consider this curve. So here is a normal distribution. So the entire area below this curve, so that is called as area under the curve. If we integrate all the probabilities of area under the curve, that should give the value 1. So if the integration of P of x is 1, then we say that probability distribution is a probability density function. So that is the restrictions that are put on a distribution. So for example, in a normal distribution, so the equation is that instead of normal distribution n, so x, mean and variance. So this line indicates it is a conditional. So mean and variance. So x is dependent on mean and variance. So it is 1 divided by sigma square root of 2 pi e to the power of minus x minus mu divided by 2 variance square. So we are not discussing the equation here. So here the mean is a parameter, mu is a parameter, variance is another parameter. So 2 parameters are there in this normal distribution. So the mean, it controls the where the distribution is centered. So where the normal distribution is centered. The parameter variance, that is sigma, that controls how spread out the distribution is. So this is a general form. So all distributions have their own parameters. So a random variable is denoted by x or y. So x always, P of x always should map to a positive real number. So probability density function is a distribution. When we integrate, it gives the area under curve as 1. Okay, consider an example that let x be the amount of time until the next bus arrives. So you are standing in a bus stand and the next bus will come. So that x is the time or a time interval until the next bus comes to that bus stop. So X is a random variable then, right? So because there is a variation and uncertainty about the amount of time the next bus arrives. So that's why it is a random variable. Suppose if we know that until the next bus arrives, so let us say it has some a density function. So it can be anything. So P of X can be, we can assume that P of X can be anything. So if it is a something like that. So these values have no meaning. So it's just an equation. So if we know that the probability density function till the next bus arrives is a P of X. So and that is equal to 2 e power minus 2x. So let us imagine. Then what is the likelihood that the bus will be arriving between the 12th and the 13th minute? So in this interval, will the bus come? So what is the probability of a bus coming between this interval? So if we want to find out that, so we have to just integrate this P of X from 12 to 13, right? Because the entire area under the curve P of X will give the probability 1, and this interval, so 12 to 13, so that will give us the probability that the bus will arrive between this interval. So let us say the curve is something like this. So this is the curve. So between the 12th and 13th minute, what is the probability? So for that, the area under this 12 and 13 itself is the probability, because the entire area under the curve, its probability is 1. So that is the probability density function, because the density functions always give this kind of probability answers. So what is the right distribution to use? So that also has to be decided. So we can conduct the experiment in different ways. So there are two ways in order to say which distribution is good. So what we can do is, we can stand at the bus stand at a random time, and we can start measuring the time until the next bus arrives. So we can repeat this experiment again and again till we look at all the measurements and plot them on a graph. And then we will approximate it. Or what we can do is, this waiting time, so it is a global phenomenon. So which means waiting time has already been the real world phenomena. And for that particular thing, there is an exponential distribution. So exponential distribution fits very well for that particular waiting, so that we can directly use it. So similarly, we have other kinds of distribution, multivariate functions. So these multivariate functions they are also called as a giant distributions. So they do the same thing for more than one random variable. So if more than one random variable are there, then we call it as a multivariate function. And that we will represent it using a function P of X comma Y. And this always gives the values in a plane and non-negative values. So now for a density function, earlier we saw if we put the integration and then we will get the probability 1. then we call it as a probability density function. But when we have multivariate functions, so we have to apply, if two variables are there, then we have to apply double integration. That's it. Three variables are there, then 3 times integrated. So if it is represented in a plane, then it is double integration. So that is the multivariate function. So similar to this, we have conditional distribution also. So conditional distribution, it is represented as P of X bar Y. So that it indicates that X is a variable and it is a function of Y. The density function of X for a given particular value of Y. So for each value of Y, X will have a different density or different value. So that's why it is called as a density function of X. Consider this example. Suppose we have a set of user level data for Amazon.com. So we have a data of Amazon where we have a list of users, how much amount they have spent the last month, their gender, how many products they looked before adding a product into the shopping cart. So in that scenario, let us consider X as a random variable that represents the amount of money that has been spent by a particular user or a set of users. So X is a variable that indicates the amount of money spent. Then if we look at the distribution of money spent by all the users, so we have to use P of X. Here we have one more, that is Y. So Y is a random variable that represents the number of items that the user looked before adding it into a cart. So if you want to model this information also, that is how many products the user saw before adding a product into the cart. So that is Y. Y again, it is a random. Now, if we want to have a distribution where we want that how many users looked at more than 5 products before adding it into a cart. So then that we can scenario, we can represent it using P of X, this condition, Y greater than 5. Y greater than 5 means more than 5 product has been watched by that particular user. So this is a conditional distribution. So conditional distribution, it has the same properties as regular distribution, that when we integrate, it has to give 1 and non-negative values. So for this kind of scenario, we can observe the data points, that is x1, y1, x2, y2, which means x1 is the money spent, y1 is the number of products watched. So for each user, this pair is possible. So this pair is based on observing the realization of the pair of random variables. So this entire data set can be represented in a rows and columns. So n number of users, so n rows will have, so k number of columns. So k indicates the number of random variables. So in the data set. So next we have fitting a model. Okay. So fitting a model means that we have to estimate the parameters of the model using the observed data, which means in the previous section, we saw what are the different models, whether it is normal, conditional, multivariate, like that. Some mathematical model is put for our data. So once we model it, the next thing is we have to find the values for the parameters. So because once we find the parameters for that particular mathematical function, then only we can fit our whatever models we have. So that finding the estimates of the parameter values, so it is called as a fitting a model. So we can use the data as an evidence to approximate the real world mathematical process that generated the data. So fitting a model, it involves the optimization methods and algorithms. So some algorithms will have the maximum likelihood estimation. So it is just an estimation of the parameters. So for example, if you have y is equal to 7.2 plus 4.5x, so that is beta 1 and beta 2. So this equation in the functional form, so it expresses the relationship between the two variables. So that is a variable x and variable y, and it is in linear form. So this is a fitting a model. So fitting the model is actually when we start coding. Okay. But actually what happens is when we start to code, it is just that we will identify the model or the distribution. Finding the parameters, so that we have to leave it to the optimization methods. So there are many built-in optimization methods in Python and R programming. So if we just pass the parameter values and select the model, they will give us the most likely parameters with our data. So we do not want to code everything, because the functions are already present in R and Python. They will return the parameters. Okay, so fitting the model, so it is nothing but estimating the parameters. So and the parameters are written from the libraries of these programming languages. So next we have overfitting. So overfitting is a term, okay, that is used to mean that the data set that we have used to estimate the value of a model, but the model is not good at capturing the reality beyond the sample data, which means one set of data we have used for building a model, and while evaluating it, we will give some other data, the data that is not there when we model the data. So at that time what happens, so the result may not be correct. So that is that term used to describe the scenario is overfitting. So that happens, so when we try to use a model to predict the label for another set of data that we didn't use it to fit the model, and it doesn't do the very good job, means accuracy will not be there. So how do we say whether the fitting is appropriate or not? It is based on the accuracy. If all the data we have correctly fit into the model, then we say the accuracy is high. So when we have an overfitting situation, that occurs when we model with some data and we then give some other data to predict. then we measure the accuracy will be less. So that happens when we use different data for modeling and predicting. So that phenomena is called as overfitting. Okay. So we can stop till here. In our next class, we can discuss the exploratory data analysis. Okay. So exploratory data analysis is the beginning step of data analysis. It is just like self-satisfactory analysis, what an analyst do to convince himself to understand the data for himself rather than for somebody else. Okay. So we shall discuss this in our next class. So you can enter your attendance in the chat window and exit.